Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel. This is huge. Trump-appointed lawyer threatens to revoke Wikipedia's nonprofit status, putting the online encyclopedia in jeopardy. There is a tremendous amount of propaganda, of information that misinforms, of bias when it comes to politics on Wikipedia. It is extremely important for the Democratic Party, for wonderful, morally superior, highly educated, liberal Democrats, progressives, the left-leaning electorate in the United States of America uses Wikipedia in many ways to promote its ideology, their ideology. I'm going to give you an example. Hit subscribe to this channel. First off, it is viewed as a charity, okay? The Wikimedia Foundation is viewed as a charity. Wikipedia is an online encyclopedia. Obviously, everybody knows that's part of the charity. I'm going to give you two examples, and we'll get into it, and you'll hear the legal analysis in a second. Look at Kash Patel. Look at Kash Patel's Wikipedia page, and this is why Ed Martin and President Trump's administration, they're on their way to revoking the charitable 501c3 classification tax status of what should not be a vehicle or a medium to promote a certain ideology. But here, Kash Patel, really quickly, you can go and initially, I think that there was a disparaging comment in the first paragraph of the FBI director's page, but you look down and, oh, what do we see here? We see this nonsense right here. Okay, you know what? Theories. Okay. This is not viewed as criticism. This is viewed as conspiratorial nonsense. Okay. Then you get John Brennan, criticism of Trump. John Brennan. So the same thing takes place with conservative pundits versus liberal pundits. Liberal pundits never get viewed as spreading conspiratorial theories when they said that Trump tried to rebel against the country, organize a rebellion. He was a Russian and Kremlin operative. That's called criticism of Trump. Okay, so criticism of Trump. But let's listen here really quickly. Did John Brennan criticize or did he spread conspiratorial theories?
Did you find direct evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Putin in Moscow while you were there?
Mr. Rooney, I never was an FBI agent. I never was a prosecutor, so I really don't do evidence. I do intelligence throughout the course of my career. As an intelligence professional, what we try to do is to make sure that we provide all relevant information to the Bureau if there is an investigation underway that they are looking into criminal activity. As I mentioned in my opening statement, I was convinced in the summer that the Russians were trying to interfere in the election. And they were very aggressive. It was a multifaceted effort.
So we know from the Mueller report this was all nonsense. It was the definition of a conspiratorial theory. And of course, it's not viewed as they go after this is not even one of the best examples. You can look at how Wikipedia bends and how Wikipedia bends the truth in entries for liberal pundits and goes after conservative pundits. But they'll say Patel has been involved. No, he was never involved. He was never involved. This is nonsense. He was never involved in any community online. A lot of these attacks against Kash Patel are leaps of logic, not viewed as criticism of Biden. Criticism of, you see how the difference here is? We know that John Brennan stated categorically that he doesn't do evidence, he does intelligence. The subtext there, he's alluding to, or he's hinting that evidence need not correlate directly to intelligence. He does intelligence. He doesn't do evidence. There was no evidence at all that Trump was any of those things, not even a shred of evidence. But it's viewed as criticism, not promoting conspiratorial theories. Okay? Then you get The FEC fines Clinton campaign DNC for misreporting Trump dossier funding. FEC fined Clinton and the DNC. Okay? BuzzFeed News no longer exists in part because they published the Steel Dossier. Okay? The Steel Dossier was the textbook definition of conspiratorial nonsense. A fantasy. It was not intelligence. It was not raw intelligence. It wasn't a dossier. Then you have Vice going bankrupt. BuzzFeed News is okay. So, Steel Dossier, how is that written on Wikipedia? It's the online, it's a charity. It's definitely not promoting propaganda or one political viewpoint. The Steel Dossier, known as the Trump-Russia Dossier, is a controversial political opposition research report on the 2016, compiled by counterintelligence specialist Christopher Steele. There's nothing here. Nothing here. The dossier was written, contains allegations of misconduct, conspiracy. The entry lends credibility to a purely, not only partisan, completely made up, fabricated, absurd nonsense of a dossier that was referred to as raw intelligence. So John Brennan doesn't have anything on his entry pertaining to all the conspiratorial nonsense he's spread. The Steel Dossier is actually dressed up and decorated on this Wikipedia entry as something that was somewhat legitimate. Yes, it was purely fiction, literally paid for by Clinton and the DNC to create lies, to create conspiracy theories, to create doubt and allegation, to literally fabricate and create them against Trump because they had nothing on Trump, which is why he's a two-term president won the popular vote. But check this out. If you don't know enough about the Steel Dossier, check this out.
The State Department is an agency that needs as much focus from law enforcement as the DOJ and the FBI did on FISA-Gate. They're heavily involved in the spy smearing of President Trump. They were pushing material out to Congress just before the president came in. It was a hotbed of anti-Trump activity.
I think you're exactly right. I agree with you completely. But I want to also focus on contemporaneously. At the State Department, there was knowledge within at least elements of State Department leadership that dossier had serious questions about its authenticity, the reliability of its so-called documentation. We learned, obviously, later that it was an absolute work of fiction. But at the same time, Senator John McCain, it is said, was turning over the document to the FBI. There were a number of entry points into the federal system of this dossier that was the fraudulent work of Fusion GPS, Christopher Steele, and of course paid for by the Clinton campaign and the DNC.
You have to hand it to the
and
Clinton
the FBI, I should point out.
They literally paid for a new Cold War myth to go after Trump, to delegitimize his presidency. They literally bought a dossier that should be the first paragraph. A dossier purchased. Here, I'll fix Wikipedia for you. The dossier is a fictional, conspiratorial document literally purchased by the DNC and the Clinton campaign, causing them to pay fines because they probably used Bernie Sanders' campaign money, and starting an help start an investigation against Trump based on nothing but an absurd fictional dossier. This is just one example. You can just look at, and then Vice and then BuzzFeed no longer has BuzzFeed News. The Steel Dossier, Brennan and Kash Patel entries. You can look how they go after Kash Patel, and they give Brennan and Wikipedia, the Steel Dossier, a free ride. That is the definition of propaganda, and that's exactly why the Trump-appointed lawyer threatens to revoke Wikipedia's nonprofit status. You can't convince the world that one ideology riddled with conspiratorial nonsense is just the mainstream and should never be viewed as complete fiction, while at the same time going after a person like Kash Patel and accusing him of these dangerous theories. And then look at what happened with Brennan and the entry on the Steel Dossier. There's a million better examples, but anyway, hit subscribe to this channel. They take away that tax classification. There could be no more Wikipedia. Hit subscribe to this channel. They run on donations, just like the DNC. What does that tell you? Hit subscribe. Thank you.